Alright, so longswords are amazing, and the meta for longswords right now is also in a very good state. It's not the best in the game, but it's definitely way above average, and there are quite a few meta builds that you can make around longswords in two different directions, which is why in this video I will cover both of those types of builds and also a mix in between them to basically appease everybody. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. War Robots Frontiers is a brand new multiplayer mech shooter that lets you gear up your own mech, fire it up along other squad mates, and rain hell on your enemies in epic 6v6 tactical battles. It's out right now on all these platforms, including on PC, and it's completely free to play as well. I got a chance to check it out early and was impressed by how the gunplay feels and how each mech feels distinct to play. Some excel in speed, others in firepower or support, but you're pretty much encouraged to try them all out and adapt on the go. As you play, you also earn different mech parts, letting you customize your own robot to fit your own perfect playstyle. But on March 11th, also get the new Under the Wire Battle Pass, which adds a brand new Cyclops mech, plus many more galactic rewards and awesome cosmetics. So totally check out War Robots Frontiers using the links down below, and you can also claim some amazing free rewards right now to help you in battle. Plus, a huge thanks again to the team for sponsoring today's video. So let's take a look at the three builds that we have going on right now, starting with the Fulgur variant. And you can actually start building this from very early, but it's literally one of the best in the game. Uses 5 critical boost, 5 agitator, 3 into Counter-Strike. I'm going to show you why Counter-Strike can be an amazing pick, specifically for the longsword. Some maximum might, antivirus because we have the 2-set core Magala piece, and also quick sheath, since quick sheath is very important for the special sheath for every longsword build. And finally, 1 level into burst at the very least, free damage, and it's going to be amazing for the longsword nonetheless. The uptime on it is going to be very good. Now, specifically, the reason we go for the Fulgur 3 pieces, we have the head, chest, and the arms, though in this case, I replaced the chest from the Fulgur with the Raid Dao since it's exactly the same, literally. The only difference is that it has a bit of extra stamina surge, so I had that available, and stamina surge helps me a little bit here. Even the slots are exactly the same. Now, why does Stamina Surge help me? Well, I mean, it's not necessary for this build, but with this build, we have a very interesting ability, which is Second Wind from the 2-set piece from the Fulgur set. This just gives us an extra stamina bar. You don't really need it, but let's be honest, not everybody's perfect. You may not always be capable of perfect, like dodging through attacks and not using your stamina and foresight slashing through enemy attacks. This second stamina bar is just going to help a ton with the uptime of the maximum might. So you're going to hold off that affinity for that much longer. You can maybe even do one dodge here without actually spending the maximum might because you tapped into your regular stamina bar. Now, in terms of the Counter-Strike, why is that so interesting? Well, let me tell you why. Counter-Strike has a very, very interesting mechanic over here. Temporarily increase attack power after being knocked back. So here's the thing about this. First of all, you don't have to actually be knocked back to get this effect. As long as you're hit by an attack that can send you flying, so a typically strong to normal attack, that's going to be enough. You don't have to actually even flinch for this to happen. Second of all, at level 3, it gives you a flat plus 25 extra bonus attack damage. And that effect damage will last for 40 to 45 seconds at level 3, which is actually very good. And third of all, the reason why this couples so well with the longsword specifically is because you have 2 very strong moves that give you hyper armor, so you don't flinch, but you still get the Counter-Strike effect. One is your focus strike. That's the first one that gives you the hyper armor, and as you can see in this footage right here, even if you get hit by an attack that sends you flying, it still gives us that effect without actually having us flying. And second of all, the Helm Breaker is in the exact same situation if you actually have the attack land on you when you're already on the ground. If it's in mid-air, you're going to get thrown, but if you're on the ground, at this stage, you get the hyper armor, so the buff gets applied again. Now, in terms of the jewels, obviously, we're going to go with 2 critical jewels, 2 and 3. I'm using 2 3s because I just have a lot of them, but basically at level 5, critical boost increases your essentially critical hit damage. So your damages, your critical hits will deal 40% more damage. Also, the Mastery Jewel. Now, why do we use the Mastery Jewel? It's actually something that you can pick either this or the other, but Mastery Jewel is very good for high affinity builds. It grants an 80% chance of no sharpness loss while active. So the higher your affinity, getting closer to 90% to 100%, the more Master's Touch is going to go into effect and the better it is going to be. So if you can sustain a high affinity, this can be extremely good. You're barely going to lose any sharpness. If you're below that, like about 50%, what you can do instead is use Razor Sharp and Handicraft as an alternative. This is going to give you a 50% chance of no sharpness lost, as well as the Handicraft is going to give you a plus 10 to your sharpness. In my case, I don't really have any sharpness on my weapon. Besides this, 2 might jewels, that's going to put us to 3 maximum might between this and the chest piece. We also go with the counter jewel. We're gonna go with this, 3 times in a row. Like I said, you can replace it with something else, but I just like the way counter jewel works with my playstyle. Sheath jewel 2 times. You can also put it up to 3. At level 3, the special sheath is going to be extremely fast, so you can actually use that even better against tempered arc weld. I'm also going with the chain jewel, which gives us that extra 1 level in burst. We should always have at least 1 level of burst on all of our builds. And of course, finally, also a bit of extra challenger and the Sane over here. Challenger is just there essentially for the last point in agitator that we need, and the Sane is, well, something that we need for obviously the antivirus. Level 3, since we have 1 level from the Gore Magala armor piece. And that is pretty much it. Besides that, also going with the Challenger Charm at rank 2 so that we can stack agitator. In terms of the options, early in high rank, I suggest going with the Lalabarina. Paralysis is just way too good. This is easy to build. It's very good in terms of status build up. Affinity is not bad, even though it kind of lacks a bit in raw attack damage, which is why you can use that or the Blanco version instead. This is just going to be pure attack. I believe the highest crafted attack for a longsword, but you will need to compensate that minus 10% affinity. And it also comes with critical draw. This is gonna make it super strong, like literally 100% guaranteed affinity on a draw attack. That's going to be insane for this. However, later into the game, as you move on to your other options, to the Artians, obviously you're going to go with the Dimensius. In this case, I recommend going with Paralysis. I just went with the Dragon because I'm foolish, so don't go with the Dragon unless you're going like full-on Argveld spam farm. But besides that, yeah, it's gonna be way better. However, in both of these situations, I recommend going Affinity and Attack with a bigger focus on attack in this case, both in terms of the production and the reinforcement bonuses. Now, I was quite unlucky and only got a couple of attack bonuses. I would have preferred if I got 3 at least, or even 4 with just 1 affinity, but it is what it is. It was the best I had available when I crafted this, so if you can, focus on attack instead. Now, the other set we're gonna focus on is going to be a mix, actually, that just goes a lot more into exploit weakness, but while still retaining some of the staple elements from the previous build before we transition to the true best one I was able to play with at the very least. So in terms of the actual item sets, we're gonna go with 1 Fulgur headpiece, just like before, because it gives us the level 2 in agitator. We're gonna go with the regular Argveld chest mail beta for 1 weakness exploit, then the Guardian Argveld arms beta for the weakness exploit. This already puts us very far ahead. And then obviously Gore Magala once again for the 2 set bonus and the antivirus. Yeah, that synergy between the antivirus and the frenzy. And in this case, what makes this better a little bit is the fact that we have more weakness exploit. Weakness exploit over here helps way more. So you're going to actually replace the counter strike with weakness exploit and get it as close as possible to level 5. That's, in my experience, been the best option out there. In terms of bonuses, we don't really have that many any longer here, just the Black Eclipse from the Gore Magala, so the Frenzy, plus those 2 points, well, 3 points in this case from the antivirus for a 25% increase in affinity. Quick Sheath, we have a few more on top, so besides that, we're gonna have the Special Sheath quicker, and of course the Burst to level 1 still gonna help us. In terms of the distribution for the jewels, it's pretty much as it's been before, at least for the weapon. Then for the headpiece, it's still Mighty Jewel. It's just that in the case of the chest piece, besides the Mighty, we also use the Tenderizer for an extra level in Weakness Exploit, getting that closer to level 4. If you can to level 5, good for you. Then 3 into the Sheath Jewel, so that we can have the special sheath much quicker. Challenger, once again, as we do want extra points to Agitator. Mighty, Chain for the burst, and then 2 Saint Jewels just like before. The difference here is that I think we're using, the Challenger Talisman to get Agitator much quicker. And this brings us to the actual last one on the list. This is the one that I found to be the highest in terms of damage from all of these. It's just the natural progression of what I've been doing basically. So this uses Guardian Aldebaran, both the head as well as the arms, because this is going to use a ton of burst basically. The Arcvelt male chest once again, but we also incorporate the waist, which is going to help quite a bit with the extra weakness exploits. And finally, a surprising Udra Greaves. I'm gonna show you in a little bit why that's good, but it's mainly because of the extra point into burst. So in this case, what we're working with right here is that we max out weakness exploit and we max out burst. Burst, for me personally, has been consistently the best option for damage. Why is that the case? It's just because you get such a huge amount of bonus damage upon having the level 5 of it. If you check out some of the previous graphs, you're going to notice that elemental damage is going to be in the hundreds for literally every single weapon there by the 5th hit. And even the bonus raw damage is still going to be very, very good over there as an option for the longsword. So it's exactly what we needed. Weakness exploit is still going to be top tier, even though it does take 5 levels now to get to 30% affinity. But yeah, it's still going to be one of the best options in the game, plus another 20% against wounds. What is there to hate about it? Besides that, Agitator and Maximum Might unfortunately had to suffer a little bit, but it's still nonetheless a very good bonus. Even at level 2, the Agitator gives you plus 8 attack and plus 5 affinity. So yeah, it's a far cry from plus 20 and plus 15, but it's still nonetheless quite useful. And besides that, the Maximum Might, even at level 2, gives us a 20% affinity while active instead of the usual 30%. Everything else pretty much the same. You're going to go with the Quick Sheath as well, and that's going to be pretty much it. If you want to see the jewels, this is what we have with it. The same critical jewels and the mastery one on the weapon. 2 mighty in this case, 2 challengers, and 3 sheath. This is going to be a much easier build to actually create. Besides this, we also have the 2 bonuses over here, but mainly we use the Aldebaran bonus, burst boost. It increases the duration of the burst and also grants a plus 3 while it's still active, so it's just extra damage. Arcvelt's Hunger, don't even rely on it too much. You're going to get a bit of a HP healing here and there, but it's nothing to write home about. Specifically, we're going to mainly focus on the burst boost because of this. Any healing we get from Arcvelt's Hunger is just welcomed if it happens and when it happens. Anyway, that about covers today's video, but let me know in the comments if there's a different variant that you're enjoying right now or if you're using any different combinations. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.